Good afternoon, everyone. How we doing today? It's Thursday. Boy, has this month flown by. So, welcome. And this is MindForge. We're here today to talk about mental health, men's mental health, and how to find some help and what to look for, the signs, the just what to look for when a guy needs help. And where to reach out and what questions to ask. And I have with me live from Texas. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Blake McCafferty, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us, what exactly is it that you do?
Well, actually, I work for a crisis line with 988 and a bunch of different types of entities or whatever. And so, we're there for a lot of people, especially in Texas, because where I'm out of, but we can help just about anybody anywhere if they call in and help with like crisis and things like that.
Okay, so when somebody calls the helpline, what types of questions do you ask?
You always want to, I mean, basically demographics. Some people get upset about being asked to, some require it that we know it. Some can be anonymous. Unless they end up wanting help, then of course, we would need some information, but name, phone number, maybe like the county or state that they're in. And then, mainly if they're having any thoughts of suicide or homicide or any type of crisis that they're wanting to talk about.
So what do you do with the information?
With the information, we have it. We do like, call logs, stuff like that. But just depends on how far it needs to go. I mean, some of the calls could just be something as simple as that's the first thing they jump to. Some could be, hey, we may need to call PD. But it's not like that every time. It's a different each call, pretty much.
And for those of us that really don't know, what are some of the signs that somebody needs help?
Some are just, simple as basic writing suicide notes, text messages, sending to family, giving away possessions, maybe trapping themselves in the room, maybe not eating, not hygiene, taking care of themselves. But that's just, some, children, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like sometimes it's opposite. So the acting out might be a sign of it when, adults, maybe not as much. We kind of just stand clear.
So tell us, what is your background with all of this?
Well, my background is, I'm a crisis interventionist. I am now a licensed master social worker, and I'm actually about to start my doctorate in social work as well. So it's actually became a passion, and it's kind of something that gave me a sense of purpose again after serving in the military. So,
and how did this all come about?
Lots of switching back and forth between college degrees and what I wanted to do. But overall, just knowing I wanted to help people. And I was like, what better way to help people than to help people with something I've gone through myself? And I think that's what makes it a little bit easier for me to handle and breeze through schooling and stuff like that, is because I've been in that spot and some people just haven't. So.
And what is your battle with all mental health?
There's I'm on a lot of medication, but the thing is, it's just knowing. I knew the one time I actually tried and attempted that, I started opening up and talking. I wouldn't talk to anybody, no doctors or anything about it. And once I started opening up, I realized, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, it's such a weight lifted. Like, I let people know all the time, therapy can only help with what you can. you give them half the information that can help you with half the problems. And so it's about being open and honest. And I mean, right now, kind of getting that stigma away from mental health, stigma away that, if the police come out, the police are going to do something bad because of everything that's happened. And they're trying to get on board with all the mental health stuff and to try to understand it more. That way, it's less maybe jail time for people that really may need to go inpatient, may need to go somewhere for that. And so, I mean, basically just with that is knowing everybody gets scared that first thing we're going to do is send the police out. And it's like, we're having a conversation.
Mhm.
Like, that's what it is. And if we need to, we're going to let you know. We're not just going to send them out. And that's, kind of the big thing.
So if the police do come out, what exactly are they going to do?
Well, I mean, it really just all depends. So let's say the police go out there and the person says they do want to kill themselves, or that they want to kill somebody, or if they have hurt somebody, anything like that, then they may have a way to take them. And if it needs to go inpatient, then they may have a reason to take somebody somewhere. But mental health, voluntary. Substance abuse, voluntary. We can't force somebody to get help. But if they meet some of the requirements with police would be able to say, okay, I could detain them and take them. Or maybe other words where it's not like that. So it's tricky. The system's tricky because somebody may have schizophrenia. And here's what I tell people: just because they think they're having lunch with aliens at 1 p.m. at Chili's, I mean, if they want to think that, let them. They have that right, self-determination to do it. Now, if they're out walking in the street, on the highway, not knowing what's going on, and they're having that, or they're having thoughts of suicide, or they're carrying around stuff like standing at the edge of your bed and you see them and they have a knife and they walk away, that would be kind of something that would maybe make it where it's not up to them, because then it's like, maybe I might need to go get a mental health warrant, which we can go over that part later. But I mean, it's a web of stuff, and it takes certain things just to get it going right.
So do you think, and again, this is my opinion, that substance abuse leads to mental health abuse? Or is it the other way around?
I mean, so I've had people be like, okay, so would you consider substance abuse to be a disease? Well, what we're taught in school and what we're taught and when we do things is, I mean, you could have had a grandparent that had it skipped your mom, or maybe it was there, and then now you have that problem. And the first time you do something that just gets you so happy or makes you feel good and out of it, it could be game over just from that one use. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. I've had people with substance use in my family. Do I use substances? Absolutely not. And I've been blessed. So, I mean, it can skip people, but overall, we got to handle sometimes like the substance use part of it first. Like if they need a detox, if they need to do anything like that, it's getting that taken care of first, and then going to like mental health and getting your regular therapy, your psychiatrist and stuff like that. Sometimes they throw a little bit in together, but we can't really treat what's going on if the person's high all the time or under the influence and us trying to fix it. Like we got to have some substance abuse part started first. That's kind of like way I see, and what they say.
So speaking from my personal issues, my early childhood abuse led to my mental health issues as a later adult. And I didn't use substances at all. Now, I got a little carried away with alcohol when I was young. I think we all do.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing led to, I didn't have any major substance abuse. I was never a drug user, never abused anything to that point. And I think people misinterpret the fact that you don't have to be a substance abuse user to have mental health issues. There's abuse. There's issues that the military goes through when you're going into war, and those types of things, PTSD, those types of things can lead to mental health issues. So talk to us a little bit about the types of issues that people have with mental illness, not being just drug abuse.
Well, I mean, a lot of the call, not a lot of the calls, a lot of things, let's say it starts with, maybe this person just has depression, anxiety, and they just never dealt with it. And so after so long, it just snowballed and it just kept getting bigger. Every little teeny tiny thing just added on to it and just made it like this big boulder that's just going to go down this never ending hill. And, there needs to be more out there for everybody that could use it to understand it a little more, because I mean, depression, yeah, I mean, it sucks. Major depressive disorder, everything has certain diagnostics with it and what needs to happen for how long. With bipolar, like if they're manic first and then, maybe a little bit of depression, opposed to long depressive episodes with maybe a little bit of hypomania, like different things like that. It all matters. And that's why, the mental health field all kind of use the same diagnostic manual. Mm-hmm. And so, with it, it's just trying to find the right treatment that fit with the person, because every person's different. We can't use the same treatment on everybody and expect everybody to perform the same. It's just maybe letting everybody know that when you're on medication, it's a trial and error until you find it. And that's the hardest part, is because if you keep getting off the medicine, it's you got to do it until you find the right one. And sometimes it may be a few, and then people end up not liking the way it makes them feel. Maybe those that have schizophrenia, and maybe it makes them sick. So they're on board. They've been taking it for a few months. That one time the person skips, it may be a whole nother year or so before they even get back on it, because they didn't like the way it made them feel. So it's just, I mean, a lot with having therapy, medication and stuff like that. It's not 100%. I would probably say I think it's more 40% medication, 60% therapy, and 100% the person. So if you're giving that 200%, something's going to happen. Doesn't mean you're going to feel depression 1 out of 10 or anxiety 1 out of 10, but let's say you're always 10 out of 10 and you go down to 4 or 5 out of 10, your heart and your body, everything's it's going to feel so much different. And it's a lot bigger than what we think. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think it's just a cure-all, and it's not that way. And then they stop when they feel better, and then they wonder why everything screws up the next 3 years. It's because you got there. It's there to help. We got to continue with it. Even if you drop it to going every week to therapy to once every 3 weeks or something like that, still have that person, that you built that with. So that's very, very important.
So what kinds of therapy actually work?
I honestly, I couldn't tell you that, because I mean, it's all in the person, because it's just like, we'll go to substance use. There's different stages of change. You got the pre-contemplation, contemplation. Okay, maybe now you're going to take action, and then, you're going to keep going. But it's like, if the person doesn't want to do it, I don't really think they're going to get too much to the action page. It's going to be more, maybe I'll try it, and then they'll give it all. But if they go in there giving it their 100%, it's stuff that can be worked on. It just depends on how they're in it at that moment. Maybe, to me, I feel like if they come into the therapy session and they're just out of it, they're like, blah, yeah, this is what's going on and stuff like that, they're probably not going to get as much out of it, especially if they're doing like the eye therapy and stuff like that they do for like PTSD. So it just all depends on the person. It depends on what their mindset is, how into that session they are, and what do they do outside the sessions, because it's not the social worker or therapist that does it for them. They get together on something and help them realize it so they can use it. If people do it on their own and they do it for themselves instead of somebody telling them to do something, they're probably going to put a lot more into it, and it's going to make much more of a difference.
So why don't people get help?
Stigma is big. I mean, just like today, we talk about men's mental health now. Men, they're always looked at, if you want to look at societal norms, back in the 60s, women cooked, men went to work, the women cleaned the house, the dad might go throw the ball with a baseball glove out in the front yard, all that stuff. But there's so much put on it about, oh, you're a man, you need to suck it up, you should be doing this. Men aren't supposed to have feelings, but the thing is, we do. Why do you think men get mad all the time and yell? Because we have feelings. I mean, it's everybody has it, but I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is stigma. How's it going to affect them? Will it even work? Will it even help? And the change. Because when you're going through something, you're changing. People are scared of the change. They're used to it. Some people will rather deal with all the stress and anxiety going on. And then when they're really at that breaking point, call a crisis line. But the thing is, if they would have just at least started a little bit before that and understand that it's okay to get help, I think a lot more people would do it, both men and women. And then would it probably help for kids to want to get help too. And where maybe it's not exacerbated, like them going to a certain point way more than it should, but everybody would understand getting help's okay.
So how do we break that cycle? How do we get it through men's thick skulls? Because we can be stubborn. How do we get it through to them that it's okay?
Being a model. Not sexy model. I mean, you got to be a model that they can learn from.
Okay.
If they see, the dad may see, oh, well, if they see me getting help, they're going to think I'm weak. But if they see you getting help, they're probably going to come to you more often if they have an issue. And you don't have to worry about, oh man, I got to send my kid to an inpatient facility when it could have been taken care of before because they knew it was okay.
Right.
And I mean, I think with like parents in general, there's going to be times we're going to get upset with our kids. We're going to get mad. They're going to take us off, all that. But if they're coming to you, and even if you think that it's something so minute, to them, it may be the world. And then that's them bringing their world to you as a parent so that they can feel comfortable coming to somebody that they love and know will point them in the right direction. So it's like, men, don't get mad when your kid comes to you for stuff, or if they may be like, oh, my friend stopped talking to me, I'm depressed and all. I mean, it's a big deal. If you only have one friend and you lost it, that's a big deal. It's not like losing one follower when you got 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube. It's a whole big difference.
So I know for me, I keep my circle small. I keep my trust circle very, very small for the very simple reason I don't trust very easily. And it's a big thing when I do trust someone. And the moment I feel that the trust has been violated, I shut down and I go quiet. And without taking the step back and saying, oh, why did the trust get broken? Did it really get broken, or did they do it for a good reason? I think we need to, take a look at that as well, because, a lot of times people feel betrayed when they really weren't, because all the person was trying to do was help. You
Yeah,
know,
it happens.
you know, for me, most of mine was all abuse. I did not have a very good childhood. I remember coming out of the womb and feeling the tension between my parents and not feeling the warm and fuzziness that kids should feel when they're born, and mom and dad are very happy to see them. Um, I remember all of that, and that's kind of strange. People think I'm crazy because I remember that. And you know, when I sit back and I look back at everything that I went through as a child, all the beatings and all the mental abuse and all of the craziness that my parents put me through, you know, it led to a lot of resentment towards my parents. And, you know, was I glad when they both passed away? Absolutely. That's bad. I did not like feeling that way, but I couldn't help it because I was so overwhelmed with grief and pain and anxiety and depression that it's like I could not see through to the end. I didn't see the door that was open with the light coming through that, life is better. Life can be so much better than what we're making it out to be. 5 years ago, I wanted to end my life. I wanted to get rid of this pain. I wanted to stop this anxiety. I wanted to just get done. I didn't want to keep going anymore. I couldn't. But when I reached out to the powers that be, God and the universe, and I'm like, just give me a freaking sign that I'm meant to do something with my life other than be miserable and in pain. I got it. And, through the course of these 5 years, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and there's been a lot of great moments. There's been a lot of okay moments, but then there's been also a few really, really bad moments that I look at and I'm like, okay, this is why this is what I've been working towards, is preparing me for these bad moments that I know how to get myself out of now. Over a little under a month ago, I had a few moments where I hit rock bottom. I felt, um, I felt betrayed. I felt demoralized. I felt, you know, that I was no good, that I didn't do anything right. I felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough for the people that I did it for. And I had just had enough. And I was to the point where I was ready to tell everybody to F off. Literally ready to tell them to get the freak away, with a few choice words in there. But it's like, then I sit back and I realize, stop and calm down. And when I realized that how they were coming at me wasn't a reflection of me, it was a reflection of what they were going through in life. I just so happened to be the outlet. And being an empath, as I am, I soaked it all in and made it my own when it wasn't my own to begin with. You know, I think that, not many men will go on a live podcast and admit to that. Well, here I am admitting to it. I'm big enough to admit that, a lot of stuff that I was taking on as mine was not mine to begin with, but yet I was making it mine when I shouldn't have. So those types of things, when we take on the pressures of a family or a workplace for no reason, we allow the people around us to dictate our behavior per se. We have people in our lives that love to push our buttons every day, see how far they can push us. And some people can handle it and some people can't. So it's all, and that's where, the people that have violent outbursts, because that's their way of dealing with it. Right, wrong, it's hard to say. So, I mean, give me your opinions.
I mean, I think what you just explained is what a lot of people go through. And I don't mean like your situation. Like when I mean stuff like that and I bring it up, it's more, I mean, a generalized overview of everything, not that specific thing. But let's say somebody's calling in and they're like, I'm just under so much stress. I want to kill myself. I want to do this. If I did, I would do this. But then we come down to it. We talk. Okay. I don't want anybody to send anybody out. Okay. Well, we're talking right now. If it happened, I'll let you know. Okay. Like you'll know. But the thing is, a lot of times when people call in and they're like, I'm having thoughts of suicide, when you break it down, it could be something as simple as, man, I just wish I had a job so I could have my own place.
Mm-hmm.
Or I just wish I could have had rent for this month or support from a resource to get help with that. And if that was done, the person wouldn't think about it. But us as humans, first thing we do is, boom. Oh, man, it just goes straight to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the easiest thing to come to and to think about.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, all it is it could just been something simple as, I wish my dad wouldn't have called me stupid or, or an idiot, because maybe it's something they deal with from bullies at school. Or maybe men don't like being called the B word, just like I guess those that go to prison, they don't use that. It's a fighting word.
Right.
But sometimes maybe you've been beat down so many times by people you were with that when it happens, you flip.
Right.
But it can pretty much, you kind of know how the call is going to go for the most part if that happens, and then they're going to be like, you might ask a little bit more questions, and when really to come to find out where you're at county wise or wherever, the whole point of that is so we know if you're not my county, you're in a different state, let's say Oklahoma, then maybe I need to get a hold of Oklahoma Mental Health Authority, which I think they have a state that the whole state has it's not different counties. Mm-hmm. Then we can get you to the right place to help you out so you have a resource to go to. Right. And so it's not just to send people out. It's every county's different. In Texas, every county has a local mental health authority. And so those are the ones that would send out mobile crisis team to help out instead of the police. Some states have that as well. But it just all depends. Like at the end, they're like, man, I'm feeling so much better. Thank you. And it's like, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. So it's like, so are you not going to send anybody out? I said, did you say you're having thoughts of suicide or homicide? No. Okay. Then why do I have to send somebody out? You just, so it's scared.
What do you think the percentage of calls or people just wanting to be heard?
Every single call.
Okay.
Even the ones that don't need it and they're not in a crisis and they call just to call, there's something going on. Right. We don't know what it is, but something's there that's making them call a lot more. And there's something there for making somebody call. But I mean, there's a lot of times people call and it's just silent. And so, we end up disconnecting. Or maybe they don't want to speak to a guy, they want to speak to a female. Mm-hmm. Or maybe a guy wants to speak to a male instead of a female. And it's like, I mean, we don't get to choose who we talk to, but
right.
But it plays a part in it all.
So, and then what triggers a response from you? What words or what actions trigger a response from you in the way of either, authorities or ambulance or whatever that is? What What triggers that?
I guess it all depends on, you know, like the ideation, the intent, the plan, the preparation, all those different things play a factor in it. And it kind of supposed to tell you how it goes based on, we do assessments for
Mhm.
suicide. And so, but it's hearing what they have to say about it, because like I said before, somebody may have thoughts of suicide, but it's because they just jumped right to it. Some may have a little bit more to it. Maybe we're able to send a mobile crisis team out, which are like 2 clinicians or qualified mental health professionals. Or there might be something we may need to call the police out, depending on maybe if they're saying, hey, yeah, I took like 60 pills earlier and I just want to be on the phone while I die. It could be that.
Mhm.
I mean, but the thing is like, it's getting them there. If the ambulance is coming out, more than likely the police are going to be there. And it's not for the person. It's more just to make sure that EMS can do what they need to do. Just in case somebody had like a baseball bat in their hand, a knife in their hand, or a weapon or something that needs to be done to where they can get the help they need. But it's just, it's protocol. They're like, don't send police out. Sorry. I could tell them, but I'm letting you know, more than likely they're to come out there. So just try to be calm, talk to them about what's going on. They understand and know that they're coming out for a mental health crisis. They're not coming out because you went and stole some Twinkies from Walmart or anything like that. Like they're there to be of assistance, just in case, maybe somebody needs to be kind of, I guess maybe handcuffed while they go so they're not hurting anybody or themselves, but not necessarily to take them to the jail.
Right.
But with that, it plays a factor. Everybody's scared about it because of the news, especially, depending on the race, ethnicity, and all that stuff. Not to get into it, but some people are paranoid, and I can get that. But it's just trying to work. We have to work with what we have to try to help best we can. And if you're a danger to yourself.
What is the definition of domestic violence? What classifies it as domestic violence?
One, it depends on your state, but I know like Texas, it could be your ex-girlfriend, it could be an ex-wife, your kid, family, any of your bloodlines, aunt, uncle, girlfriend, boyfriend, anything that's a relationship attached to you in some way. And that's what happens. And and it's not always men being abusive to women. I'm saying men get abused too, but we hide it a little bit more. It may not necessarily be physical abuse. It may be emotional, betrayal, and make it where they have control of your mind. If they want to crush you, they will. And so, I think of that, to me, is domestic violence, but not physical. But it's just different for each person.
Okay. Blake, thank you. This was very informative. And so how to explain to the customer or the viewers the numbers below?
All right. So just a little bit about it. So we got findhelp.org. Typically, it can help with like helping to find like, transportation, financial assistance, rides to healthcare appointments, anything that people would reach out and like, I really need help. I wish I could get assistance. It helps. And a lot of it has to do with like, let's say maybe children with critical illnesses, maybe
Right.
people with critical illness, breast cancer, leukemia, different things like that to help them. Maybe it's air transportation to hurry and get to another big hospital to help, so it can help with a lot of things, help maybe with like bills, shelters, finding closest shelters, different things like that. So that's what that one is. So it's just a resource to have at your fingertips. Of course, for down below, we got the domestic violence hotline. You know, that's a national hotline for the U.S. So if you have that, I would, contact that. They also have relationship hotlines. And the reason I bring that up is they'll probably give you a little bit more advice than what a crisis interventionist or somebody would do over the phone in that period of time, because we're not there to help like with just advice. We're here to like, all right, let's diffuse the situation. What can we do? How can we help the person? So those would help with that. So if people are calling for relationship, I would probably just call them first, because 988 is probably not going to help with that. I'm not saying they won't talk, but that's not like what it's for. We also got SAMHSA. So you got, that's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration through the government. So it's a national organization to help find resources and locate things and different aspects of what you would need. We got NAMI, which that's the Association of Mental Illness. They can help provide resources for mental health. Next, we got 988. So just a little bit about 988, just in general. 988, local mental health authorities, all that. If the person is unable to keep themselves safe, others safe, they're in danger of walking on a highway during traffic going 80 miles an hour, they don't know what's going on, and it's unintentionally dangerous to them, or if they're being violent, under the influence of drugs, alcohol, more than likely you're going to want to probably call 911 or PD or somebody to come out for that. Now, the reason for it is, let's say mobile crisis team, more than likely if you're under the influence, they can't come out and actually assess somebody that's under an influence and stuff. So it makes it a little bit harder. So that's when that needs to go. They would have to go to the hospital and get evaluated. Now 988, it's the general number. It's been around for a little over almost 2.5 years now. That's just for anybody that needs somebody to talk to. If you're in a crisis, we can end up finding places that can help if it needs to be like your local mental health authority, or, if we need to send out police or EMS and stuff like that. As well as the veterans, they would press option 1. That would take them to people that deal with the veterans, and get them to that state. So the people they talk to are specifically to help veterans. But, the main thing with it is like 988's there. Just like any other line, there's going to be prank calls. There's going to be stuff like that, which is not cool, not good. It's not helpful. But I mean, it's just knowing that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, somebody can answer your call. It may not be within the first minute of being on there, depending on how many people are calling, but there's resources. And then outside of 988, the state has resources. Then from the state, the county has resources. And then sometimes cities have resources, but mainly counties. And it's just knowing that no matter where you're at, there's somebody there to help in some way to get you on the right path to being the person you want to be. Because, I mean, the biggest thing I can say is preparing for the future is the biggest thing, especially with kids. But it's just even guys, just preparing for the future. And
all of these services are free, correct?
Yes, all services are free. Like these ones, to find and use these are, they're free. 988's free. Like if the mobile crisis team had to come out or something like that, that would end up being free. But the local mental health authorities, the main thing with that is, let's say the guy doesn't have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to get mental health services, substance abuse services, whatever. The local mental health authority can help. Sometimes they may accept all insurances, Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. But also, if they don't have it and they're financially in a very bad situation, there's a chance it could be little to no cost, and you get services. They may not be the quickest thing to get into like you can with private health care, but I mean, if it's free and you're still getting your therapy, you're getting psychiatry, and having a case manager to help you with those outside factors, you got a team right there that's for you.
Yeah.
Plus, you got these hotlines.
Cool.
And so it just opens so much to everybody. There's more to it than people understand. And without them coming out and trying to reach it, they're going to still be in that spot, not knowing they could have fixed this 5 years ago.
Right. Wow. Okay. Blake, thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Again, so to just go over everything, if you need help, reach out to a friend, to one of these numbers, to one of these government agencies, to somebody that can just listen. And if you need help with walking through suicide, that feeling, then definitely reach out to these people because they're there to help, and they're free and they're confidential. You will not see your information plastered all over any website or anything like that. It's all confidential. So don't hesitate to reach out, because I know that's big with some people. They don't want their families to know. They don't want their friends to know. Don't worry about that. It's confidential. So, wow. All right. And there we go. So thanks, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you very, very soon. Again, if you need anything, just reach out.
Absolutely.
And have a great rest of your days.
Take it easy, everyone.